The first fact that I want us to understand is that the competency-based education system replaced the 844 system, the former, those of us who are in 844. So the competency-based education system is commonly referred to in Kenya as the CBC, competency-based curriculum. And the two systems of education, when you look at them, 844 and the CBE, there are some very clear fundamental differences. And this forms the foundation of understanding anything in the specific learning areas of this system of education. So can we therefore begin from the basic fundamental differences between the 844 and the competency-based education system? And some of the fundamental differences include things such as, number one, in 844 system of education, learning system was expository in nature. Now, when we say expository, we mean teacher-centered. You know, in 844, the teacher was running the show. And in a class of, let's say, 40 minutes, the teacher controlled about 30 minutes. Students just coming in to control about 10. And those of us who are probably taught by extreme 844 teachers, they controlled 36 minutes. And the students only had their 4 minutes left. So that is expository in nature. But in CBC, the entire system has been changed. And now it is heuristic in nature. Heuristic to mean that now the students take control of learning. The learning is organized in a way that every bit of the 40 minutes lesson is supposed to consider the learners. The teacher is only a facilitator. That is why even if you look at the books that have been written for CBC, I am an author, I've written a few of them, you will realize that students are the ones running the activities during the lesson, as the teacher only facilitates. So that is a big difference between CBC and 844. Then you look again at the terminologies that are used, and they have got a meaning. So in 844, we used to have pupils for primary, students for secondary and universities. But in CBC now we have learners. Somebody may be asking, so what is the difference? Even if you go back to the dictionary, the word pupil means someone who is being taught. Someone who is being taught a concept. But when you look at the meaning of the word learner in the dictionary, it says a learner is somebody acquiring knowledge or a skill. Acquiring knowledge or a skill, not being taught, acquiring. So that means you can actually learn without being taught. Teaching is only one of the ways of making someone to learn. So CBC puts emphasis on learning, not teaching. So the student learns and the teacher facilitates the learning. Therefore, these CBC kids are not pupils, they are learners. That difference should come out very clearly, at least for those of us who are interested in understanding what CBC is. And it doesn't stop there. In 844, we used to put a lot of emphasis on the grading system. You could see, you know, after Form 4, did he score A, did he score B? You know, that was everywhere. And there were only like basically 4 grades, A, B, C, D. The minuses and the pluses were not even making sense to some people. Today in CBC, we don't have that. Today, students' assessment is based on competencies. There are 7. We'll have a video for competencies another day. And normally, the assessment is asking basic questions like if it is digital learning competency, which is one of the 7, then how is the student able to use digital learning? And it can't be 0. It is either they are approaching expectation in that competency, meeting expectation in that competency, or exceeding expectation in that competency. And now you see it is divided again into 1, 2, 1. We'll talk about that in a different video again. But as you can see, competencies therefore give learners a chance to be assessed according to their abilities, as opposed to their intellectual strength. So here it is not so much of IQ, which is the concept around the grading system. No, it is mainly about ability, which is the main concept around competencies. 844 made students a jack of all trades, and an expert of none. So when you look at 844, you reach secondary school and you are doing sciences, you are doing humanities, you are doing technicals. And when you are now told, are you a scientist, are you a social scientist, or are you a sports person, or what are you? Some could answer, some could not. Majority could not. Now, in CBC, there is specialization. When you reach the senior school in CBC, you choose your path. Whether you are going for the pathway of STEM, which is pure sciences, engineering, and mathematics, or you are going for social sciences, which is basically languages, humanities, and technical subjects like business, or you want to go and do sports, creative arts and sports, where you have drama, music, film, and the rest. So specialization in CBC is something that is completely absent in 844. It wasn't there. So that is, again, another bridging difference, huge difference between the two systems of education. And again, assessment in the two systems is completely different. In 844, there was summative assessment where you learn for 8 years, then you are given one exam in 3 days called KCPE. And that exam is what is used to determine your future. Everything you did in class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all those exams, null and void. And the same to KCSE. 4 years, then one KCSE exam. From 1, 2, 3, 4 cut end term exams, null and void. Now, in 844, it has been revised. And now there is both formative and summative evaluation. So much so that as student doing exam in grade 3, the marks are kept and used together with the marks in grade 6, and then used together with the marks in the junior school. And all those marks matter in the student's academic life. That is formative evaluation. Assessment in the process of learning. And all of them are put together and they count. So there is that huge difference. So that the formative is 40% and summative is 60 in CBC. But in 844, summative was 100%. I personally support fully the CBC system. You don't teach me for 8 years and you use 1 day to determine my future. So therefore, I love the way the CBC system has brought it out. And then, you know, we used to have subjects in 844. Now we have learning areas. So the word subjects was more of an intellectual term, you know, subjects. It looks like something so serious. Now we have learning areas. So they are only, the content is only separated, is learning, not as a matter of intellectual specialization. Then we could talk about syllabus. Like you could hear, have you cleared the syllabus in your school? You know, which is the first topic in the geography syllabus in Form 2? Those are 844 questions. Right now, the question is curriculum design. So you ask someone, based on which curriculum design are you going to write your schemes of work? And then the person tells you, I'm using the sports and science curriculum design. I'm using the mathematics curriculum design, etc. So the word syllabus is gone with 844. We now have curriculum design. If you pick a book written for 844, you will find chapters, like chapter 1, geography, internal land-forming processes. And then under that, you have topics. In CBC now, we have strands, not chapters. So you'll get strand 1, natural systems and environments in geography. Then under each strand, now you have what you used to call topics is now called substrands. So let's go, 844, chapter 1, internal land-forming processes. First topic, folding, CBC. Instead of chapter 1, you have strand 1, natural systems and environments. Instead of first topic, you have first substrand, rocks. That is the difference. So the former topics are now substrands. But then we also used to have subtopics. What are they now? So the subtopics in the 844 are now called the specific learning outcomes. So if you have strand 1, natural systems and environments, Then you have the first topic, rocks. Then the first subtopic is definition of rocks. Now that is called specific learning outcome. So that you have strand 1, natural systems and environment, sub-strand 1, rocks. Then specific learning outcome 1, definition of rocks. That is now the difference in use of terminologies and content arrangement between CBC and 844, right? So anyone who is watching this and their teachers know that in 844, we used to write schemes of work and plan for class using something called learning activities. So I'll use videos, I'll use, for instance, audio visuals, teaching aids, etc., group discussions as learning activities, basically because the teacher was the one driving those activities. Today in CBC, we don't have learning activities. We have specific learning experiences. Why is the word experience coming in here? Because it is the student experiencing the activity, not the teacher driving it. So it is a learning experience. And then the word experience is very important here because the experiences the student learners will have are different. So this learner will experience it at this level, this one at this level. So the question then is, out of their experiences, how did they meet the competencies? So there is no more learning activity, learning experiences. Then 844 had 4 layers of schooling. We used to call it nursery school, primary school, secondary, and university, 4 layers. Now, CBC has 6 layers. Nursery has changed to preschool. So we have preschool, and then we have lower primary, grade 1 to 3. Then we have upper primary, grade 4 to 6. Those are 3 layers already. Then you have junior school, 4th layer. Then you have senior school, which is also called intermediate level, 5th layer, and then university, 6th layer. So this one has been broken down into pieces. Reason is basically to help in smooth transition and sequential or systematic acquisition of knowledge in a way that is easily assessed and evaluated after each stage, as opposed to 844, right? Now, if you look at the 844, learners or former students used to be ready for the job market after university. So like if you did not have a university certificate in Kenya in 844, those of us watching this and were in 844 know that you have almost nowhere to look for a job. You could only go for these informal jobs like sweeping, but you can't do a formal official job in 844 without a university certificate or a diploma certificate. Today in CBC, after senior school, grade 12, you will get a certificate that is already preparing you for the job market. In fact, there is another certificate after senior school called artisan certificate. For those who don't qualify to go to the university, they are now able to get an artisan certificate, which is formal, just like a certificate or diploma in the former system. And you can go and look for a job with the artisan certificate. Therefore, the CBC prepares learners for the job market after senior school. 844 was doing it after university. Then, those of us who are in 844, you remember when the teacher entered class, it was all about content. The teacher gets in and begins. What is an earthquake? What is folding? And they're defining it, and they're looking so intellectual, and they're talking, and they're moving around. Some of those teachers that taught us, they don't even ask you a question. They're just lecturing you for 40 minutes. Content. And then they give you notes. CBC, that cannot happen. It will never happen. In CBC, it's the activities that are driving the lesson. So you will find a topic like an earthquake, the definition doesn't even appear in the first page of the textbook. The first page is written activity number 1. Then the first part of that activity is learners should log into the internet and look for the definition of an earthquake. Then number 2, learners should compare their definitions in various groups and share them in class. Then number 3, learners should agree on the best definition and write it down. So there is nothing like notes. Learners derive the notes themselves. Activities. And the teacher is only there to facilitate so that what they are picking from the internet and the rest, you ensure they are fast, relevant. They are not running into some websites that you don't want them to go to. And also making sure they are writing down and making sure in the groups where they are working, things are coordinated. That's all you do. But there is nothing much about the content, textbook, this page, this, that page. It is about the learners being able to generate through the various activities the information and the knowledge they need, right? So those are some of the very basic fundamental differences between CBC and 844. There could be others I left out, but I gave the skeleton. So we are going to delve into quite a number of these videos about CBC, and then I narrow down now the geography and community service learning. So ladies and gentlemen, until the next video, please do not forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment, and also share. Thank you very much, Mwalimu Lucas Mjomba. Until the next video, we are out. Thank you.